He's drowning in Greece, while his sister is thriving. That was what I imagined people saying about me before I opened the doors. Before the neon sign flickered awake. Before the first cup of coffee hit the counter. Before I learned that strangers could believe in you more honestly than your own blood. My name is Clara Miller. I'm 27 years old, and for most of my life, my family treated my dream like a punchline. Not a cute dream, not a brave one, a joke. I wanted a diner. Not a food truck I could park at weekend fairs, not a part-time kitchen job where I smiled under someone else's sign. I wanted my own place. Booths with cracked red vinyl, ceramic mugs thick enough to survive being dropped. A counter where people could sit alone and still feel like somebody saw them. A grill that never cooled down. A doorbell that chimed every time someone came in hungry. That was the life I saw every time I closed my eyes. My parents saw something else. They saw failure with a menu. My mother would sigh whenever I mentioned suppliers or leases. My father would fold his arms like I had personally insulted the family name by wanting something that required risk. And Erica, my younger sister, would smirk from the couch, scrolling through her phone like my ambition was background noise. Erica was 24, pretty in that effortless way people praised, even when she did nothing. And somehow, she had been crowned the responsible one, despite quitting almost every job she ever had. Receptionist? 3 weeks. Hostess? Walked out because a customer complained. Clothing store? Left because the employee discount wasn't worth the emotional labor. Smoothie bar? Too sticky. But every time Erica restarted her life, my parents called it finding herself. Every time I moved 1 inch closer to my diner, they called it being unrealistic. So I stopped asking for support. I saved everything. I worked doubles, I bought equipment from people who had already given up on their own restaurants. I learned how to repair a griddle from videos watched at 2 in the morning with grease under my nails. I drove across town for used booths with torn seams because I knew I could patch them. I kept a notebook full of menu ideas, repair costs, supplier numbers, and the exact shade of yellow I wanted for the front window. Then, after years of scraping, sweating, and swallowing every insult they threw at me, I signed the lease. The building used to be a thrift shop. The windows were cloudy, the floor had old tape marks where shelves had stood. The back room smelled like dust and old cardboard. But when I stood in the center of it, I didn't see what it was. I saw what it could become. Miller's Corner Diner. My diner. I sent the grand opening invite to the family group chat with hands that actually shook. Nothing dramatic, just a simple message. Opening Saturday morning. I'd love for you all to come. For one foolish second, I let myself hope. Maybe my mother would bring flowers. Maybe Dad would stand awkwardly near the register and pretend he wasn't proud. Maybe Erica would make some sarcastic comment, but at least she'd be there. Saturday came. I woke up at 4 a.m. The sky was still black when I unlocked the door. The diner smelled like fresh coffee, butter, and stainless steel polish. I turned on the sign, and that soft yellow glow filled the front windows, like sunrise had decided to arrive early. By 7, the first customers came in. A trucker ordered eggs over medium and called the coffee dangerously good. An older woman said the pancakes tasted like the ones her husband used to make. 2 college kids took pictures of the loaded skillet before they even touched it. A mechanic from down the road asked if I was hiring. Every compliment should have filled me up. Instead, every time the door opened, my heart jumped. Mom? Dad? Erica? Number. Just strangers. Kind strangers. Paying strangers. Strangers who smiled at me like I had built something worth walking into. But still strangers. Around noon, I stepped into the back and drank cold coffee from a paper cup because I hadn't had time to eat. My apron was streaked with flour. My hair was pinned up badly. My feet ached. I checked my phone. And there it was. A photo in the family group chat. My parents, Erica, aunts, cousins, everyone gathered in Erica's backyard around a grill, holding beers, laughing under string lights like they were filming an ad for family loyalty. My mother had posted the caption. Family always shows up. Congratulations, Erica, on your first big step. First big step. Erica had gotten an office job. That was it. Not a promotion, not a degree, not a business. A job she had held for barely 2 weeks. There she was, smiling, with a burger in one hand, her other arm around Dad's shoulder. Then another selfie came through, Erica puckering at the camera. Nothing beats family support. For a second, the kitchen noise faded. The fryer hissed. The ticket printer clicked. Someone laughed out front. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. They hadn't forgotten. That would have hurt less. They had chosen. They chose her backyard barbecue over my opening day. They chose paper plates and potato salad over the diner I had built from nothing. They chose to celebrate Erica for showing up to work, while ignoring me for creating something with my own hands. I almost dropped my phone into the prep sink. Then, something cold settled inside me. Not rage. Not yet. Something cleaner. Decision. I wiped my face, though I hadn't realized my eyes were wet. I put the phone away. I looked through the small pass window at the dining room. Every booth was full. The counter was packed. People were eating the food I made, laughing under my roof, spending money in my business. My family could pretend I didn't exist. Fine. I would build something so real they'd have to choke on the truth later. I walked back to the grill, flipped the bacon, and smiled at the next ticket. Because that was the day I stopped waiting for them to show up. And it was the day Miller's Corner Diner truly opened. Not with family. With witnesses. The first week after opening felt like surviving a storm, with both hands nailed to the wheel. I barely slept. Every morning started before sunrise and ended with me scrubbing the grill long after midnight, while old country songs crackled from the tiny kitchen radio. My hands smelled permanently like onions, coffee grounds, and fryer oil. My shoulders burned. My feet throbbed so badly at night that sometimes I sat in my truck outside my apartment, just staring at the steering wheel, because climbing the stairs felt impossible. And somehow, I had never felt more alive. The diner was working. Not perfectly, not magically, but working. People came back. That was the important part. Truckers started calling me the Skillet Girl. An elderly couple came in every Tuesday and ordered 1 pie slice to share because dessert tastes better when someone steals bites from your plate. Local mechanics stopped by before work. Nurses came in after late shifts with exhausted eyes and grateful smiles. Little by little, Miller's Corner became real. Which, apparently, was exactly what terrified my family. The first crack came from my cousin Daniel. He showed up on a rainy Thursday morning wearing his usual quiet expression and ordered pancakes with extra bacon. Daniel wasn't dramatic, barely spoke unless necessary. The kind of guy who apologized when someone else bumped into him. Halfway through breakfast, he leaned across the counter. "Clara," he said carefully, "there's something you should know." I kept pouring coffee. That sentence never ends well. He gave a nervous little smile. "Uncle Mike wanted to help you financially before opening day." I blinked. "What?" "He was gonna invest a little. Help with equipment, maybe?" Daniel hesitated. "But your dad talked him out of it." The mug in my hand stopped halfway to the counter. "What did he say?" Daniel looked uncomfortable even repeating it. "He told everyone you weren't stable enough to run a business. Said investing in the diner would be throwing money away." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so perfectly cruel that my brain refused to process it any other way. Of course my father had sabotaged me behind my back. Of course. Meanwhile, guess who he suddenly believed in financially? Erica. Apparently, during her precious little office job barbecue, Erica had announced her newest life plan, buying a condo to rent out for passive income. And Dad, without missing a beat, offered to help with the down payment. The same man who told relatives not to trust me with money was ready to hand thousands of dollars to a woman who treated employment like a seasonal hobby. That one hurt more than I expected. Not because I wanted his money. I didn't. I had built this place without him. but because hypocrisy cuts deeper than rejection. Dad had spent my entire childhood preaching about hard work, responsibility, discipline, earning respect instead of expecting it. Except those rules only applied to me. Erica got rewarded for existing. I got punished for trying. Daniel cleared his throat awkwardly. For what it's worth, everyone here thinks the diner's amazing. I smiled softly at him. Thanks. But after he left, I stood alone behind the counter for a long minute, staring at the empty coffee cups. Then the rumors started. At first, they were subtle. A customer casually asked if I'd finally fixed the bug problem. I frowned. What bug problem? He shrugged. Just something I heard. The next day, a woman asked whether I reused fryer oil to save money. Then a family walked in, whispered to each other while staring at the kitchen, and walked right back out. My stomach twisted. I knew exactly where it was coming from. Erica. Who else? She couldn't stand the fact that the diner was surviving, so she started poisoning it the only way she knew how. Whisper by whisper. Greasy kitchen. Dirty counters. Possible roaches. Unsafe food. The worst part about lies is how easily they spread once people already want to believe them. And my family had spent years painting me as reckless. Now Erica was cashing in on the reputation they helped create. One afternoon, after hearing another customer nervously ask about health concerns, I finally snapped. Not publicly. Strategically. I texted Erica directly. One more lie about my diner, and I'll sue you for defamation. Dad can't rescue you from legal fees with office job coupons. She read it immediately. No response. But the rumors slowed after that. Not completely, just enough for me to notice. A few days later, my cousin Rachel stopped by for pie and gave me the latest family gossip. Erica tried making another joke about your diner at Sunday dinner, she said, between bites of cherry pie. And? Rachel smirked. Nobody laughed. That tiny detail satisfied me more than it should have, because that was the first real crack. The first moment people saw her jealousy instead of my supposed instability. Still, entitled people don't retreat when they're embarrassed. They escalate. And Erica was escalating. I heard she was telling coworkers she helped me behind the scenes, that I constantly came to her for business advice, that she was basically mentoring me. This woman once quit a smoothie bar because bananas were emotionally exhausting. Now, suddenly she was a business consultant. I should have been furious. Instead, I got organized. If my family wanted war, I would fight with facts. I began documenting everything. Every receipt. Every inspection. Every supplier payment. I took photos of the kitchen spotless at closing. Saved pest control reports. Printed customer reviews. Filed invoices into color-coded folders. Installed security cameras. At night, while the diner sat dark and quiet, I stayed at the office desk in the back corner, building evidence like armor. Because I understood something now. This wasn't about whether I succeeded. It was about whether I succeeded without them. That was what they couldn't stand. If I failed, the story stayed simple. Clara was irresponsible, emotional, unrealistic. But if I won, then maybe they had been wrong about me all along. And my family would rather destroy reality than admit that. The pressure should have crushed me. Instead, it sharpened me. I became calmer, more observant. I stopped reacting emotionally whenever someone repeated another rumor. I simply smiled and handed them proof. Inspection reports. Supplier certifications. Freshly cleaned kitchens. I learned quickly that confidence unsettled liars more than anger ever could. Then, on a rainy Tuesday morning, something happened that changed everything. A big guy in a trucker hat walked into the diner around 6:30 a.m. Huge beard, heavy boots, friendly eyes. He ordered my loaded breakfast skillet. Hash browns, peppers, sausage, bacon, eggs, cheese, all sizzling together in a cast iron pan. The second I set it down, he actually whistled. "Well," he muttered, pulling out his phone. "That looks illegal." I laughed softly. Only morally. He took one bite, then another. Then he set the fork down, stared at me, and started filming. Not casually either. Professionally. He narrated while steam rolled off the skillet. Folks, I think I just found the best breakfast spot in the county. I blinked. Thanks? He asked about the diner, about the recipes, about how long I'd owned the place. I answered while refilling coffee cups, not thinking much of it. People filmed food constantly. But this man wasn't just some random customer. He was a regional food reviewer with hundreds of thousands of followers across TikTok and Facebook. I didn't realize that until the next morning, when there was a line outside my diner before sunrise. I stepped out front, holding a trash bag, and froze. Truckers, college kids, construction crews, even families with children, all waiting. A teenager near the front pointed at me excitedly. That's her. That's the skillet lady. My stomach dropped. I ran back inside, grabbed my phone, and found the video. Hidden gem. Best breakfast skillet in town. Over 100,000 views overnight. By Friday, it crossed 500,000. People tagged friends nonstop. We need to try this place. That cheese pull? OMG. Road trip immediately. The diner exploded. The rush became absolute chaos. Tickets printed nonstop. Coffee disappeared as fast as I poured it. My grill sounded like applause. The air smelled like butter, onions, and sizzling bacon from open to close. And for the first time in my life, I stopped hearing my family's voices in my head. Because strangers were choosing me with their wallets. And no rumor could compete with that. But success has a smell. And jealous people can always detect it. Which meant Erica was about to become far more dangerous. Success changed the sound of my diner. Before the viral video, mornings had been steady, comfortable. The gentle clink of coffee mugs, quiet conversations between truckers, the occasional laugh from the counter. After the video, it sounded like survival. Tickets screamed from the printer non-stop. The grill hissed like it was angry at me personally. Phones rang every 20 minutes with catering questions, reservation requests, people asking if the viral skillet was still available. I stopped sitting down entirely. My entire world became movement. Crack eggs. Flip bacon. Pour coffee. Smile. Repeat. By Saturday, there were customers waiting 45 minutes for tables. 45 minutes. For my diner. The same diner my parents treated like a childish fantasy. And every single dollar hitting the register felt like another crack in the story they built about me. But if success feeds ambition, it starves narcissists. Especially Erica. The first sign came from social media. She started posting weird little comments under local food pages. So proud seeing my sisters succeed. Crazy seeing ideas we talked about become reality. We always knew the diner concept would work. We. That word irritated me more than outright insults ever could. Because there had never been a we. There was me fixing broken equipment at midnight, while Erica drank wine and mocked me for smelling like grease. There was me eating instant noodles for months to save for kitchen permits, while Erica spent money on fake designer handbags she couldn't afford. There was me. Only me. Then, customers started mentioning her directly. A woman ordering pie smiled and said, "Your sister told my coworker she helped create the menu." I nearly dropped the whipped cream can. She said, "What?" The woman laughed awkwardly. Maybe I misunderstood. Number. You understood perfectly. Erica was rewriting history. Again. A few days later, one of her coworkers came into the diner during lunch. Young woman. Blonde braid. Friendly. She ordered a cheeseburger and looked around curiously before finally asking, "So, Erica really helped you build this place?" I stared at her for 2 seconds. Then I smiled sweetly. "Oh, absolutely," I said. "Her contributions were groundbreaking." The woman brightened. "Really?" "Yep, Erica once suggested I buy ketchup. The coworker blinked. I continued calmly wiping down the counter. Truly revolutionary business insight. The woman burst out laughing so hard soda nearly came out her nose. "Oh my God," she wheezed. "So she lied?" I tilted my head innocently. I wouldn't say lied, more like aggressively fictionalized. By the time she left, I knew exactly what would happen next. Office gossip spreads faster than disease, especially when humiliation is involved. Sure enough, within days, word filtered back through cousins and mutual acquaintances that Erica's coworkers had started questioning her stories. Apparently, someone asked if she owned part of the diner. Another asked why she still worked an office job if the diner was so successful. One person even joked, "So when are you quitting to become a restaurant mogul?" And Erica, according to Rachel, had looked like she wanted the earth to swallow her whole. Good. Still, she kept going. Because people like Erica don't stop lying once they're caught. They just tell bigger lies. Meanwhile, my diner became impossible to ignore. The local newspaper did a feature titled, "From Empty Storefront to Town Favorite." The article included photos of me in the kitchen, smiling beside the grill with flour on my cheek and exhaustion behind my eyes. I framed that article myself, not because I needed validation, but because 16-year-old Clara, the girl constantly told she was unrealistic, deserved proof that she wasn't crazy for believing in herself. Then came the silence from my parents. That part fascinated me. No congratulations. No, we saw the article. No acknowledgement whatsoever. It was almost impressive how committed they were to pretending my success didn't exist. Dad still made little comments through relatives. Restaurants fail all the time. Let's see if she's still open in a year. Mom kept sighing dramatically anytime someone praised me around her. Well, Clara's always been intense. Intense. That was her favorite word for me. Too intense. Too emotional. Too ambitious. Funny how those same traits suddenly looked a lot like determination once money started rolling in. And Erica? She got meaner. Not openly. Cowardly people rarely attack directly when losing. Instead, she became passive-aggressive. Little comments in the family group chat. "Hope the diner can survive all those grease fires, LOL. Make sure nobody gets food poisoning from all that butter." I ignored every single one. Silence unnerves insecure people more than arguments ever will. And I wanted Erica nervous. Because nervous people make mistakes. That mistake came sooner than I expected. It happened during one of the busiest Friday nights we'd ever had. The diner was packed shoulder to shoulder, kids coloring on paper menus, couples squeezed into booths, servers weaving between tables carrying plates piled high with burgers and fries. The air smelled like garlic butter and sizzling onions. I was halfway through calling out an order when the front door opened. And my entire family walked in. Mom, Dad, Erica, all together. Like some kind of badly timed haunting. The room suddenly felt smaller. Erica wore one of her fake professional outfits. Tight pencil skirt, blazer, heels too impractical for real work. Dad walked in with his hands behind his back like he was inspecting property he planned to buy. Mom had that sugary smile she used whenever she wanted something. I knew immediately this wasn't a support visit. Predators don't suddenly admire the deer. They just circle closer once the deer survives. Still, I forced a smile. Table for disappointment? Dad ignored the comment. "We should talk." Terrifying sentence, I muttered. I seated them at the booth near the window, mostly because I wanted witnesses nearby if they tried anything stupid. The lunch rush calmed slightly before Dad finally cleared his throat. "Clara," he began in his fake reasonable voice, "we've been thinking." That's usually where problems start. His jaw tightened. "You've done surprisingly well here." Surprisingly. Of course. Never just well. Erica leaned forward with a polished smile. But restaurants are complicated businesses. You need someone good with finances. I already knew where this was heading. Dad nodded. Erica has office experience now. We think she should oversee your bookkeeping. I laughed so suddenly, a nearby customer looked over. You can't be serious. Mom jumped in quickly. We're only trying to help. Help? I repeated softly. You skipped my opening day. Dad's expression hardened. That again? Yes, I snapped. That again. The booth went quiet. Then Erica crossed her arms. Look, Clara, you're emotional about this, but businesses need structure. I could handle the money side while you focus on cooking. I stared at her. This woman couldn't commit to a smoothie bar. Now she wanted access to my finances. You want control, I said flatly. Her smile twitched. Dad sighed dramatically. You always assume the worst. No, I corrected him. I just finally started recognizing patterns. Several nearby customers were pretending not to listen, while absolutely listening. Good. Let them hear. I leaned closer. You all ignored me when I had nothing. You spread rumors when I started succeeding, and now suddenly you want involvement? Nobody answered. Because we all knew the truth. My diner wasn't embarrassing anymore. It was profitable, which meant now they wanted a piece of it. And that realization, that hurt worse than the empty seat at my grand opening ever did. Because at least rejection had honesty. This was greed, pretending to be family. Then Mom pasted on her fake sweet smile again. Well, she chirped, can we at least try the food properly? Every instinct screamed no. But the diner was full. I couldn't afford a public scene. So I nodded once. Sure. I personally prepared every plate. Patty melts, onion rings, loaded skillet, fresh pie, perfect presentation. If they wanted food, they'd get food so good it embarrassed them. When I delivered the plates, Erica smiled too brightly. And something about that smile made the back of my neck prickle. I suddenly understood something terrible. They hadn't come to reconcile. They had come hunting. And whatever stunt Erica planned, she thought tonight would destroy me. I knew something was wrong the second Erica touched the sandwich. Not because of what she said, because of how carefully she moved. People planning a scene always become strangely deliberate. Every gesture gets too precise, too rehearsed. Erica kept glancing around the diner like an actress checking whether the audience was watching before delivering her big emotional speech. Unfortunately for her, I had spent 27 years studying her. I saw the performance coming before she even stood up. The diner buzzed around us. Families laughed over baskets of fries. The coffee machine hissed. Country music played softly through the ceiling speakers, while rain tapped against the windows outside. Normal. Comfortable. Real. And sitting in booth 7 was the one fake thing in the entire room. Dad cut into his patty melt with exaggerated seriousness, trying to look like a restaurant critic. Mom smiled too much. Erica barely touched her food at all. Then suddenly, she gasped loudly. The entire diner froze. Erica jerked backward from the table, holding half her sandwich in trembling fingers. Oh my God. Every head turned. My stomach dropped anyway, even though I knew she was acting. Because restaurants survive on reputation. And reputation can die in 10 seconds. Erica slowly lifted the sandwich higher. A long blonde hair dangled from the melted cheese. I can't believe this, she whispered dramatically. This is disgusting. A couple near the counter immediately looked down at their own plates. A mother covered her child's fries instinctively. Exactly what Erica wanted. Panic spreads fast in restaurants. I walked toward the booth slowly, wiping my hands on a towel to keep them from shaking. Problem? I asked calmly. Erica looked up at me with wide, fake hurt eyes. There's a hair in my food, Clara. Dad sighed heavily, like this was all deeply unfortunate for him personally. Mom leaned back with crossed arms, already preparing to act disappointed instead of shocked. They had planned this. The realization hit me like ice water. They came into my diner during peak hours, intending to publicly humiliate me. I could practically hear Erica rehearsing the moment beforehand. Maybe now everyone will finally see she's a fraud. She held up the sandwich again. "This place is filthy!" Murmurs spread instantly. My pulse hammered. One bad rumor could destroy months of work. One viral complaint could ruin everything I built. And Erica knew it. That was why she looked almost excited underneath the fake outrage. Then a voice cut through the diner.
Clear. Calm. Female.
That's funny. Everyone turned. A middle-aged woman stood slowly from the booth across the aisle. Janice. One of my regulars. She and her husband had been coming in almost every morning since the viral skillet video blew up. Janice crossed her arms. "Because I watched you pull that hair out of your own head."
Silence.
Pure silence. The husband nodded immediately. "She did," he said flatly. "You leaned over pretending to fix your napkin, then stuck the hair in the sandwich." Every ounce of color drained from Erica's face. The room changed instantly. People weren't suspicious anymore. Now they were furious. A man at the counter muttered, "Are you kidding me?" Another customer shook her head in disgust. "That's evil," Erica stammered. "No, I didn't." Janice stepped closer. "Honey, I watched you do it, clear as day." Dad looked horrified now, though not for me. For himself. Because suddenly, this wasn't a clever sabotage attempt anymore. It was public humiliation. And unlike me, my parents couldn't handle embarrassment. Mom grabbed her purse tightly. "Maybe we should just leave." "Oh no," I said softly. All three of them looked at me. "We're definitely not leaving yet." My voice stayed calm, but something inside me had finally snapped into place. Not rage.
Clarity.
I looked directly at Erica. "You came into my diner planning to sabotage me in front of customers." "That's not true," she whispered weakly. "You planted evidence in food I cooked with my own hands. It was a misunderstanding." I laughed once. "A misunderstanding?" I repeated. "Did the hair accidentally leap from your head into the sandwich?" Several customers snorted. The humiliation spreading across Erica's face was almost physical now. Her hands trembled. Her breathing turned shallow. Good. For once, she knew what it felt like to stand in a room full of people judging her unfairly. Except in this case, the judgment was deserved. Dad finally found his voice. "Clara," he hissed quietly, "don't make a scene." I turned toward him slowly. "A scene?" I asked. "Your daughter just tried to destroy my business. You're overreacting." That sentence. That stupid sentence. I think I hated him a little in that moment. Because Erica could commit outright cruelty right in front of him, and somehow my response still became the problem. Janice folded her arms tighter. "She should be banned from the diner." Several customers agreed immediately. "Absolutely. That's disgusting behavior." I almost left because of her. Erica looked around desperately, realizing nobody was rescuing her. Not this time. The golden child shield had cracked, and everybody could finally see the selfish little coward underneath it. I leaned closer to the table. "You know what's really pathetic?" I asked quietly. "You couldn't stand seeing me succeed honestly, so you tried manufacturing failure." Erica's eyes filled with tears. Not guilt tears. Humiliation tears. "There's a difference." "I hate you," she whispered. The words surprised even her. The diner went silent again. There it was. The truth. Not concern. Not criticism. Not family trying to help. Hatred. Pure jealousy wrapped in years of fake superiority. And weirdly, hearing it freed me. Because suddenly, every confusing childhood memory made sense. Every insult. Every comparison. Every moment my parents praised Erica while dismissing me. They needed me beneath her. That was the balance holding the family together. And my success shattered it. I straightened slowly. "Well," I said calmly, "good news. You won't have to see me much anymore." Mom finally stood up. "Come on," she snapped at Erica. Dad refused to look me in the eyes as they gathered their things. Cowards. All of them. As they walked toward the exit, I heard someone near the counter mutter loudly, "Imagine trying to ruin your own sister's business." Another voice answered, "She's jealous, obviously." The front door opened. Rain and cold air swept briefly through the diner. Then the door shut behind them, and the entire restaurant burst into applause. Actual applause. I froze. Janice smiled warmly at me. "You keep your head high, sweetheart." Something in my chest tightened painfully. Because strangers defended me harder in 5 minutes than my own family had in years. I swallowed hard and nodded. "Thank you." Then I turned around, walked back behind the grill, and resumed cooking. Because tickets were still printing. Customers were still hungry. And unlike my family's approval, this place was real. The hair incident spread through town faster than I expected. Within days, people were talking about it everywhere. At gas stations. At grocery stores. Online. The story mutated into local legend almost immediately. Did you hear about the woman who planted hair in her sister's food? Apparently, she got caught in front of the whole diner. I heard customers clapped when they left. The embarrassing part for Erica wasn't just getting exposed. It was that witnesses existed. Multiple witnesses. Reliable witnesses. People trusted Janice and her husband more than Erica's carefully crafted Golden Girl image. And once public perception cracks, it crumbles fast. Erica started spiraling. According to Rachel, she became obsessed with controlling the narrative again. Now she was telling people I exaggerated the incident, claiming customers misunderstood, insisting I manipulated the room against her. But desperate lies smelled different than confident ones. People could sense it now. The diner only got busier. Customers came in specifically because they heard how calmly I handled the sabotage. One older man actually shook my hand and said, "Anybody who survives family like that can survive anything." I laughed politely. But later that night, while cleaning the grill alone, those words replayed in my head. Survive family like that. Maybe that was exactly what I'd been doing my whole life. Not living. Surviving. And now that I was finally succeeding, they were becoming dangerous. Which meant the worst still hadn't happened yet. The hair incident should have ended things. A normal person would have disappeared for a while after publicly humiliating themselves in front of half the town. But Erica wasn't normal. People like her don't process shame properly. They process exposure as revenge motivation. So instead of backing off, she escalated again. Only this time, the universe stopped protecting her. A week after the diner incident, one of Erica's coworkers came in during lunch rush. Tall guy, glasses, friendly enough. He ordered a burger, looked around, then leaned toward me carefully. "So, your sister doesn't actually co-own this place?" I nearly laughed. "She told you that too?" The guy groaned and covered his face. "Oh no, so she's been lying." "Extensively." He shook his head slowly. "She's been acting like she runs this place behind the scenes. Says you handle cooking while she handles operations." I looked around my packed diner. The ringing register. The waitresses balancing trays. The open kitchen running like controlled chaos. Then back at him. "Does this look like a business run by someone who quit a smoothie bar because pineapples stressed her out?" He choked, laughing. That should have been the end of it. But later that same week, the diner phone rang during prep hours. "Hi," a cheerful woman said. "I'm calling from Brightstone Marketing. We were wondering if you handle corporate catering." My pulse jumped immediately. Corporate catering meant real money. "Absolutely," I said. "What company?" Then she told me, and I had to physically bite the inside of my cheek to stop smiling. It was Erica's company. Apparently, her boss had seen the viral diner video online and wanted food brought in for a staff lunch meeting. And Erica, unbelievably, had volunteered my information herself, probably trying to look important. Except now, she couldn't escape the consequences. Because I accepted immediately. Friday morning, I loaded the catering van myself. Steak sliders, garlic mashed potatoes, my skillet pasta, fresh pies. Everything perfect. I even ordered custom logo stickers for the trays, because if I was walking into Erica's workplace, I wanted every inch of that room branded with proof of my success. The company building downtown looked exactly like Erica's personality.
Modern. Cold.
Trying too hard. The receptionist recognized me instantly. "Oh my God," she said excitedly. "The diner owner." I smiled politely. "Hopefully still after lunch." She laughed nervously while helping direct the catering cart toward the conference room. And then I saw Erica. Sitting near the back table in a beige blazer, staring at me like she'd seen a ghost carrying legal documents. Her face lost color immediately. She hurried toward me in heels that clicked too fast against the tile. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. I blinked innocently. "Delivering the food your company ordered." "You shouldn't have come." I almost laughed. "You volunteered my business. I didn't think they'd actually choose you." There it was again. That instinctive belief that I would somehow still fail. Even after everything. Her boss entered before she could say more. Middle-aged guy, friendly, loud. "Clara," he boomed, shaking my hand. "Fantastic to meet you. We've heard incredible things about this place." Beside him, Erica looked physically ill. Good. The room filled quickly. Employees gathered around the buffet setup while the smell of garlic butter and grilled steak spread through the conference room. People immediately started reacting. "Oh my God, that smells insane. Wait, this is that diner? The skillet pasta's here." Meanwhile, Erica stood frozen near the wall, like someone awaiting sentencing. Then her boss clapped his hands together. "All right, everyone, let's thank Erica for helping connect us with this amazing local business." Applause broke out. And Erica smiled. A desperate, terrified smile. "Just supporting family," she said weakly. Her boss grinned at me. "So you two run the diner together?" I looked at Erica. She looked at me. And in that tiny second, I realized something. I could lie politely. Protect her dignity. Help her save face. But she had never once protected mine. Not once. So I smiled warmly and answered honestly. "No," I said. "I built and run the diner alone." The room quieted slightly. The boss blinked. "Oh, Erica mentioned she was involved." I shrugged casually while adjusting serving trays. Unless stealing fries during family events counts as operational management? Not really. Several employees laughed immediately. Erica's face turned crimson. "Clara," she whispered sharply. But I kept going. She actually came into my diner recently and planted a hair in her sandwich, trying to fake a cleanliness complaint. Dead silence. Then someone near the back snorted. Another person muttered, "No way." Erica looked seconds away from fainting. "That's not what happened," she blurted desperately. A guy from accounting suddenly pointed. "Wait." Everyone turned toward him. "I heard about this story," he exclaimed. "Wasn't there a local Facebook thread about some woman getting caught sabotaging her sister's restaurant?" Another employee gasped. "Oh my God, that was you?" Now the entire room stared at Erica openly. No masks anymore. No office politeness. Just shock. Her boss slowly crossed his arms. "Erica," he said carefully, "is this true?" She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. Because lies collapse differently in public. At home, manipulators can rewrite the narrative. In front of witnesses, truth corners them. Erica whispered. "It was misunderstood." I almost pitied her. Almost. Then I remembered, standing alone at my grand opening, staring at photos of my family celebrating her while ignoring me completely. The pity vanished. Her boss rubbed his forehead tiredly. We'll discuss this later. Translation? You are in serious trouble. The rest of lunch continued awkwardly for Erica and wonderfully for me. Employees devoured the food. People asked for business cards. Multiple department managers requested future catering quotes. One woman even asked if I franchised. Meanwhile, Erica sat silent at the edge of the room, staring at her untouched plate. Watching people praise me in front of her coworkers looked physically painful for her. And maybe that sounds cruel, but there's something deeply satisfying about succeeding honestly in front of someone who spent years trying to make you doubt yourself. When I finished packing up, the boss shook my hand firmly. We'll definitely work together again. Looking forward to it. Then he added quietly, and thank you for clarifying ownership. I smiled. My pleasure. By Monday, the story had spread through Erica's entire office. By Wednesday, people in town were talking about how she'd lied about co-owning the diner. And 2 weeks later, she was under review at work for professional misrepresentation, which was corporate language for, "We're tired of your nonsense." Then karma accelerated. One Thursday morning, 2 health inspectors walked into my diner during breakfast rush. Customers immediately went tense. I knew exactly who sent them. Erica. Again. The inspectors searched everything. Floors,
Storage. Temperatures.
freezers, restrooms. I stayed calm through all of it. Because unlike Erica, I prepared honestly. An hour later, one inspector smiled while signing paperwork. One of the cleanest kitchens we've seen this month. I pinned the excellent inspection report directly beside the register. Customers applauded again. And the best part? The inspection made business even stronger. Now people trusted the diner more than ever. Every sabotage attempt only advertised me further. Months passed. The diner expanded catering. Weekend waits stretched nearly an hour. I hired staff. Real staff.
Reliable staff.
The kind of people who showed up. Then, one Sunday morning, my mother called. I almost ignored it. Curiosity answered instead. "Hi, sweetheart," she said too sweetly. Immediately suspicious. What happened? A pause. Well, Erica's going through a difficult time. Translation.
Disaster.
She lost her job, Mom admitted quietly. I leaned against the counter. And? She's struggling financially. There it was. The setup. Dad's voice appeared faintly in the background. We thought maybe you could let her work at the diner. I laughed out loud. Not politely. Genuinely. You can't be serious. People deserve second chances, Mom snapped. I stared through the diner windows at customers laughing over breakfast. Funny. Nobody gave me second chances. I succeeded on my first shot because failure wasn't an option. Then Mom's voice softened again. Your father's hours got cut too. We're behind on some payments. Finally. The truth. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was about money. Again. I closed my eyes briefly. A year ago, this conversation would have broken my heart. Now, it just exhausted me. You all called me irresponsible, I said calmly. You told relatives not to support me. You skipped my opening. You spread rumors. You tried sabotaging my business. Clara. And now suddenly I'm responsible enough to rescue everybody? Silence. Dad finally spoke. So you're abandoning your family? I looked around my diner. The packed booths. The glowing neon sign. The life I built despite them. Then I answered honestly. Yes. Mom inhaled sharply like I slapped her. But I kept going. I'm not your backup plan anymore. Then I hung up. No screaming. No dramatic speech. Just boundaries. That night, after closing, I stood outside the diner alone. The windows glowed warm gold against the dark street. Inside, chairs rested upside down on tables, while the smell of coffee and butter still lingered in the air. My diner. Mine. Not because anyone handed it to me. Because I fought for it. I smiled softly, locked the door, and walked to my truck. For years, my family treated me like the unstable dreamer. Funny how dreams suddenly look like intelligence once they start succeeding. And funny how the same people who mocked your ambition are always first in line once the dream becomes profitable. But by then, it's usually too late.